All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you know by now, undoubtedly, we had a terrible situation over the weekend where a perpetrator, a suspect, alleged shooter, Gene Atkins, a 28-year-old, crashed a stolen vehicle into a Trader Joe's and then took hostages, and in a confrontation with police ended up with the assistant store manager, a 28-year-old named Melida Corrado, dead, and all of this over some kind of bizarre family dispute starting at his grandmother's apartment, where the guy apparently was living with his girlfriend. The grandmother was objecting to him shacking up in her house, and he shot the grandmother and the girlfriend and then took off. Our James Rojas was on the scene all day, and he's here now to report back to us. Good morning, James. How are you?
Good morning, Doug. Yeah, I'm doing well, but a story like this definitely makes you wonder, every time you take a trip yourself to the grocery store. I spoke to a man that day, Saturday afternoon, while the barricade situation, moments after it ended, and he said that he had to cancel his Saturday barbecue with friends because of all of the commotion, and that he'd actually been at that very same Trader Joe's 20 minutes before.
Well, yes, this is the arbitrary nature of an incident like this. There's no indication that Atkins was targeting the Trader Joe's. That's just where the car wreck happened.
Yeah, he has this guy minimal criminal history. The very random, really out of the blue attack. It looks like the most he's been busted for in the past has been for vandalism 10 years ago. However, his family says he has a history of mental health issues. He recently lost his job, and his life was on a downward spiral. And they actually recall him saying recently that the next thing he did, he was going to die doing it or go to jail. And clearly that's what police, they believe happened. The day of the shooting, he was having an argument with his 78-year-old grandmother over the girlfriend. And family members say that while the grandmother was going to give her adult daughter a glass of water, he went back into his bedroom after the argument, retrieved a gun, came out shooting, hitting the grandmother at least 7 times, grazing his girlfriend in the head, before allegedly stealing her car, forcing the girlfriend inside, and then taking off to the Trader Joe's, where we know where that barricade situation happened.
Of course, he may have had mental problems and a criminal history, but it didn't stop him from having access to a weapon. We don't know whether the gun was his or it was somebody else's in the house, but he certainly knew how to get it. The other thing, too, is do we have any idea, James, why he was headed to Silverlake? Why did he go to that neighborhood?
So he was actually, after allegedly stealing the car, some time passes, and however, police, they have the LoJack feature with the car to be able to locate him. They find him in the Hollywood area, and then that's when the car chase, the police pursuit begins, a very erratic police chase that goes from Hollywood to Silverlake, and it seems like Silverlake was just the area that he may have just been passing
chased
through
into,
when, yeah, and then crashed his car. And that Trader Joe's, everybody, it was the worst timing for that to happen. Of course, the 27-year-old assistant store manager, she was working at the time when Atkins is said to have run inside the store. At this time, it's not exactly clear where she was at the time of the shooting or who shot her, but after the initial gunfight, officers pulled her out from the store where paramedics tried saving her life, but unfortunately, she died there at the scene.
And, of course, that's the gazillion-dollar question. Was she shot by Gene Atkins, or was she shot by the police who were responding to gunfire from Gene Atkins? And a horrible situation, LAPD tactical, the best in the business. But this is a clearly chaotic situation with a store full of shoppers. There was no way of knowing how many people initially were even in the store.
Yeah, initially we were told that many people, when the shooting happened, right when Atkins was getting out of the car, people were running out, trying to get away. But there were still 40+ people that ended up cornered or hiding inside the store because they couldn't get out. And it's very those 2+ hours of not knowing what's going to happen. A lot of people said that they were preparing to die. What they were debating what would be preferred, being shot in the head, in the chest, or anywhere else. It really gives you all that time to think about, your life. And then after Saturday's events on Sunday, we saw a lot of people go to the Trader Joe's, dropping off flowers, pictures, paying their respects. Her coworkers stopped by, including a security guard. He had the day off that day of the shooting, but said he felt guilty that he was not there to help out. He says the store does have security 7 days a week, but they're not armed. But you could tell the amount of grief and guilt that this person had for just not being there.
Yeah, if the security guards aren't armed, then what is their purpose?
Yeah, that's the argument he was saying. He was saying the store does not allow them to be armed. However, the next day he goes to work at that store when they do open up again. He intends, he said, to start carrying, even if that means losing his job. This loss is going to be striking not only that Trader Joe's, but that whole neighborhood, very safe neighborhood, for a long time.
We're talking with James Rojas, who was at the scene of this standoff, this fatal standoff. And at this point, it really does appear that this confrontation at the grocery store was completely arbitrary. The real issue has got to focus on how did this man, whose life was spiraling out of control, have access to a weapon? And of course, the unanswered question of whose bullet actually killed Ms. Corrado. If it turns out that it was a police bullet, it's going to be that much more tragic, certainly unintentional, and also tease up exactly how difficult and dangerous a situation like this is. Because once the bullets start flying and there's a lot of people in the way, it's not necessarily the bad guy that's going to be in the way.
And one thing to note is that a family member says the day before the shooting, they actually spotted the handgun under Atkins' pillow on his bed. And again, they're not sure how, where, or when he got that gun, but it is a reminder. They apparently had been seeing warning signs saying his life wasn't on this downward spiral. However, they found him with this gun the day before, didn't say anything. It makes you think, if you're looking at your own family, if you kind of see those warning signs, and then if there's a possibility of them hurting other people, I mean, it doesn't hurt to speak up.
Well, this is always the problem. The family is always the first line of defense in these things, because every postmortem on one of these shootings, everybody always knows. They always know, and it's terrifying because you try to talk your way past it if it's a loved one. I mean, it's very difficult for a mother to drop a dime on a child. But that's unfortunately the point of contact that most of these people have initially, and it's incumbent upon family members to speak up, because that's the only chance that we have to protect ourselves against this kind of atrocity. James, thanks so much. Is there anything else we should know that you saw there that you noted?
Well, there at the scene, the store is closed. Don't go there for a while. Again, people are dropping off flowers and pictures, but police are investigating the scene still. The street's open, but if the best thing to do is just to avoid the area while the investigation's ongoing.
Okay, great. Thanks, James. Appreciate it. That's our James Rojas.